But I will have to change to English again, because our next guest speaker is Tara Colpitts. She's the Senior Director of Marketing Management for Expedia Group, which we all know, the American travel giant based in London. A very interesting fact for all Icelanders in the audience is that Tara, she finished her undergraduate studies in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which, as we all know, is the capital of the Icelandic settlement in Canada. So, very welcome, warm welcome to you.
Well, I have to say I've never been introduced by any of my attachment to Manitoba, but yes, I grew up in Manitoba, and actually another interesting fact is I took my driver's license in a very Icelandic town that I grew up beside called Ericsson, and I had to learn how to park beside a Viking ship. And so as a landlocked location, that was interesting. So I'm so delighted to be able to join you here today. 10 years ago, I actually spoke in Whitehorse up in northern Canada with a representative of Tourism Iceland. And ever since then, I've wanted to be able to make it here. And so here I am, not expecting it to be under these circumstances. So thank you, Inya. So over the next 15 minutes, I'm going to share with you some of the opportunities within social impact and sustainability that we see from Expedia Group, very much overlaid with some of what Rikke has shared from wonderful Copenhagen. So hopefully you find some comparisons. And also wanting to share with you some of the actions that you can go home tomorrow and be able to take from an industry perspective. So I'm Tara Colpitts, born and raised in Manitoba, not generally how I introduce myself. And I am Senior Director for our market management team based out of London. And what our team does is work with our hotel providers and partners. But I'm just one of a very large team at Expedia Group who's focused on building the partnerships and great products and facilitating the beautiful connections that come from travel. We look at how we can educate through travel, and truly we have captured here that one of our really foundational elements is that we believe that travel is a force for good. And so that's how I think about how we can all contribute. Who's Expedia Group for those that don't know? So we're an online platform, and we're focused on building those connections and being able to leverage our platform to bring both technology capabilities to our partners, our businesses, our brands, so that travelers can explore and be able to find the experience that they're so seeking. And how do we do this? Well, from a technology standpoint, we have about 70 plus petabytes, ask me over coffee what that really means, and of data, as well as 20 plus years of tech innovation. And we have really focused on how do we contribute as an online platform to sustainability. How do we educate, and how do we make sure that we're moving in the right direction? And while we haven't necessarily set quantitative targets towards the travel that's booked on our platform, we've more so committed to what our role is within accelerating the net zero ambitions and goals of our wider industry. And there's two key components the Expedia Group has committed to. One, it's continuing to innovate and enhance the sustainability information so that travelers can make the right decisions, because they really do want to be able to make them. And then two, enabling a diverse supply of low carbon and sustainable travel options to meet the express demand of our travelers. And I'm going to take you through what we are seeing as far as how that express demand has really evolved over time. So 3 of the key priorities within this for Expedia Group have been around these pillars. So 1, inclusive pathways. We want to make sure that inclusion and diversity is giving the ability to remove blockers that are standing in the way of travelers traveling the way that they need and choose to travel. 2, on economic advancement. So we look to democratize the travel business to help more people and communities benefit from the overall industry growth. And 3 is focused around prosperous planet and being able to mobilize our partners and our peers to innovate in a more sustainable offering. Now, we can't do this alone, and so we've looked at some of the work that's already being done out there to enable those travel suppliers to offer more sustainable options and enhancing resilience for our destinations. And this highlights just 3 areas that we've focused on. So 1, there's an ambition called Destination Climate Champions, where we've partnered with Travel Foundation. And we're looking on the education component. So we're providing online offerings and learnings to DMO partners of how do you put forward a credible and authentic and true representation of your destination, particularly in sustainability, but across all components. Secondly, we've looked to partner with the Wildlife Conservation Society in the Nature Positive Tourism Fund. And what this ambition is to leverage tourism to protect both wildlife as well as indigenous peoples and their cultures and communities in critical conservation areas by investment as well as offering technical expertise. And finally, partnership with Sustainable Hospitality Alliance. And this is on the Net Positive Hospitality Academy, and once again, really focused on the education component. And how you can understand this is really, it is allowing for training of each hospitality partner, whether it's somebody that's working at the front desk or the CEO, how they can actually show up within their particular role. Now, I think because of the focus of today, I don't need to reiterate some of the numbers that were shared from Rika, but I will all the same, because I think it's so important for us to know what impact we all have here in the room, and why it truly does matter. And according to the latest World Travel and Tourism Council research, tourism CO2 emissions accounted for 8%, as Rick has shared, of global emission in 2018. And unless we prioritize this, unless we accelerate decarbonization in our sector, then those emissions could rise by 25% or more by 2030. Meanwhile, in 2017, the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance found that hotels need to reduce their absolute carbon emission by 66% by 2030 and by 90% by 2050 to ensure that the predicted growth of our industry does not lead to a corresponding increase in carbon emissions. The industry will need to go even further than that. As far as our ambitions to be able to limit warming, which scientists now agree is needed to avoid the very worst impacts of climate change. So along with greenhouse gas emissions, hotel practices can impact our water supplies, our waste and plastic proliferation, and biodiversity and ecosystem management. But it's also what our travelers are looking for. It's what they're expecting of us, and they truly are searching for it. So we do a lot of research within Expedia Group of what people are searching for and how they want to travel. And I think back even 5-10 years, and fundamentally the number one priority that people had in their searches was price. Well, the priorities have changed and they have shifted. And we now actually see the top 4 priorities of the traveler are: 1, lessening the environmental impact. So they want to make sure that they leave a lessened footprint when they travel. 2, that they're supporting the local economies. They want to understand that they're giving back and contributing to making sure that those economies prosper. And very much tied with that, 3, is they want to support those local cultures and those communities. They want to see them flourish and carry on. And finally, 4, they want to visit the lesser known destinations. And we were just talking about some of the research that we've done as far as 2025 and some of the trends. I'm going to share with you in just a moment of how we see that show up. And it is really translating to how the traveler is experiencing a location. And we see that particularly in the reviews, which we all know are so important. Sustainability-related terms were mentioned twice as often in traveler reviews in January 22 versus January 21. And they are prepared to pay more. This is an ever-evolving trend, but we do see that 50% of consumers are willing to pay more for the sustainable options, but it really is all about making sure that they're prepared and educated in what decisions they should be making. Now, I'll go back to that fourth trend as far as the lesser-known destinations. And we do research every single year looking at the year ahead of what are we starting to see as far as choices in search. And one of those trends is called detour destinations. So in 2025, travelers are not only taking the road well traveled, they're also taking detours to experience new places. And these detour destinations are less well-known and crowded than tourist hotspots. But these rising stars are well worth putting on their roadmap, and they can be an add-on to the mainstay kind of gateway destination, which is wonderful to see as far as length of stay and being able to explore a bit further, or it can be the main destination. And 63% of consumers say they're likely to visit a detour destination on their next trip. Now, here's just a list. I'm very aware that there's no destinations in Iceland on this list, but stay tuned. And we do see that some of the most popular detour destinations going into 2025 are Cozumel, Mexico, a detour from Cancun, or Krabi, Thailand, which is outside of Phuket. And all of these destinations have seen an increase in flight searches on Expedia in the past year and are a short drive or train ride away from that gateway destination. Now, an additional trend that we're seeing is something that we're calling the phenomena list. And the excitement and tourism boom around recent eclipses is what we see as a precursor to what we should expect in 2025. Now, whether it's looking at darker skies to stargaze or the northern lights, or heading to a beach to watch sea turtles hatch, travelers want a front row seat to that breathtaking natural wonder. And I think this is only good news for many of our destinations, including this one. We actually see in our survey that 80% of travelers say it's important that they can stay in a place that offers a prime viewing location. So you can really see that trend within our vacation rentals as well as more remote hotels and offerings. They want the perfect place, quiet serenity to be able to enjoy this. And no surprise, Reykjavik and Iceland have made it onto the phenomena list. So lovely to be able to see that. I'm looking forward to seeing that come to fruition in 2025. But really, I share this all with you because there's so many choices that the traveler is making. When you look at the overall search window on Expedia sites for a traveler, it can be anywhere from 144 days down to 90 days in actual fact. And so how do we help them make those smart choices that are looking at some of the lesser known destinations or a lesser footprint from a sustainability perspective? And according to a 2022 Skift report, sustainability is no longer a nice to have, it's a need to have. And the travelers really want to be informed. They want to be able to make smart decisions on accurate and credible information. 65% of travelers want more sustainability information from lodging and transportation providers. And I think many of our industry, I'm sure many of you within this room, have already tried to answer to that. So we see that 1 in 5 industry professionals say sustainability is their organization's top investment priority, and tied only with marketing. So we are making those changes, but then how do we make sure it translates over to the traveler and that they can make sure that they're making those decisions based on accurate information? So I'm going to share with you some of the things that we offer to our partners at Expedia, but also it's across many of the travel forums and platforms out there. So we generally use Expedia Partner Central for conversing and also being able to open up to our partners how to gain exposure within our sites. We offer an enhanced display for travelers, including a new section on property pages outlining the sustainability practices. And to benefit from the improved display, then our partners and properties must add sustainability amenities within Partner Central. And these amenities are aligned to the Travelist Accommodation framework because it is really so critical to be credible. Now, this gives you a little bit of an idea as far as what the display and the traveler experience is within that. So we aim to provide those credible pieces of information to travelers, leveraging industry best practices and scientific consensus, including methodologies and data standards developed collaboratively with our peers at Travelist Coalition. And you can see within this, as far as some of the prompts and the tagging that the traveler will then see, is to be able to see if you're booking a flight, what the carbon emission footprint is. If you're looking to be able to rent a car, then being able to make that decision if it's hybrid or electric, for example. And then as far as eco-certified hotels, being able to select to that. From an inclusion and accessibility standpoint, we try to do very similar, is being able to feature where there's accessibility opportunities, also being able to filter based upon that and the needs of the traveler, and then also from perspective of how one wants to experience their travel, such as being able to filter to LGBTQIA offerings. But it can feel very overwhelming. We have, just within our sites, 50 plus amenities that are linked to sustainability. And as I said, we've aligned with Travelist. So you should be able to see the same amenities with Expedia as you do with many other travel bookings channels. And I think this is so critical because it can also feel very overwhelming to the traveler, not just us as industry professionals. And we need to make sure that it is something that feels simple and that they can make the decisions that they really want to make. Trying to boil down some of those amenities that we see most selected, we actually have from our Traveler Value Index report in 2023, seeing that these top 5 related amenities were mentioned in the reviews most. So electric car charging stations, solar energy, recycling, and elimination of single-use plastics, and eco-friendly LED lighting. So hopefully I'm not leaving you feeling overwhelmed of how to now take next steps toward this. I think what's really important is we all have to remember that we can each make an impact, and our travelers are asking us to do so. It's really, from our standpoint, is making sure that it's accurate and that we're providing as many details as possible, because if you remember back to the survey results, they really want more information. They want to be able to feel educated. They also want to make sure that it is accurate and it's not necessarily your ambition for 2028 as far as what you're bringing into properties, but more so what you have today. And then being able to take simple steps to ensure you're gaining the visibility for the efforts that you are making within this space. I mentioned previously some of the partnerships that we have, and if you're interested in finding out more details, I've included some of the links here. And certainly there are opportunities to be able to educate, whether it be your staff or yourself. And I think just I'll leave you with the fact that the traveler is truly eager and willing to make those sustainable and inclusive choices in their travel, and I hope we can all work together to support them in doing so. So, thank you.